Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inshallah, we'll continue now with chapter 6 material, and we were talking about macromolecules. Okay, so we were here, the topic is macromolecules. Macro, of course, meaning big, molecules. Okay, and we had suggested before that there are 4 types of macromolecules. These were the lipids. Okay, and then the sugars, which we have talked about before, and then today inshallah we'll talk about the remaining 2 which are proteins and nucleic acids. I had given some introductory remarks about proteins and nucleic acids altogether. Proteins, for example, are found in muscles. It's what makes muscles, big and strong. And proteins are enzymes, proteins are hormones, fingernails are proteins, or hair has lots of protein. So they are a very important part of living things in general. Nucleic acids are like, the kings of the organic world, so to speak, because they carry the genetic material for living things. That's the DNA and RNA, right? So today we're going to introduce ourselves to the basic structures of these molecules, okay? So, what is a protein? Okay, what's a protein? So proteins are made of amino acids, if you recall. Okay, so amino acids are building blocks of proteins. What does that mean? So here's amino acid, okay? If you take a bunch of amino acids, okay, and then there are different types of amino acids, okay, and then you hook them up like this, okay, and they might repeat like that, okay, and there's another one. I'm gonna put a white one over here, and then if you go like this, so if you have a bunch of amino acids like this, so each individual amino acids, if you string them all up, okay, that's called a peptide, okay. And if you were to continue a similar process like this until you have lots of them, okay, and then you would have a protein. You know what I'm saying? So if this process continued, right, like this, and until you had lots of these, okay, then you would have a protein. Some proteins are made of a few amino acids, and some are made of thousands of amino acids, okay? But the building blocks of proteins, the smallest units of proteins are the amino acids. So here's an amino acid, okay? They're kind of like the bricks of the proteins, right? So here's one amino acid, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. So all of these are amino acids, okay? Now if you string a few of them together, that's called a peptide. And if you have a bunch, they're pretty big peptide, you can call it a polypeptide, okay? And then if you have a very big one, then you call that a protein. Okay, so protein is basically they're like little pearls strung together into a long big necklace. The necklace would be a protein, and the few pearls are there, that would be a peptide. If you have a little more than a few pearls, you would call it a polypeptide. And if the whole string and you have a pearl necklace, that would be called a protein. Some of them can be pretty big, but each little pearl is a amino acid. So proteins are made of amino acids, correct? Okay, so now the next thing is, we said before that if you see a protein, you should be able to recognize. If you see an amino acid, you should be able to recognize it. As you're walking about on the street, if you see an amino acid, you say, hey, that's an amino acid, I see one right there. So you should be able to recognize an amino acid when you see one. And they're pretty easy to recognize, right? All you have to see is, you have to see a nitrogen hooked up to a carbon and hooked up to a carbon. All amino acids have this base structure. This is kind of backbone of amino acids. If you see a nitrogen attached to a carbon and it's not attached to another carbon here, for example, it could be oxygen, whatever, that's not an amino acid. To be an amino acid, you must have a nitrogen attached to a carbon attached to a carbon. Otherwise, you're fake. No amino acid there. Guys, you're no amino acid. You're just ammonia or something like that. You follow what I'm saying, right? So all amino acids have to have these 3. Now I'm going to elaborate on the structure, okay? They're called amino acids, okay? The reason they're called amino acids is because this side is an amine group, okay? That's NH2. So when the nitrogen is attached to two hydrogen like that, that's called an amine group, okay? Not amine group, amine group, okay? So that's called an amine group, okay? When two nitrogens are attached to when two hydrogens attached to nitrogen, that's called an amine group. It's a group, okay? So and on this side there's another group, and that's this group, okay? And this is called a carboxyl group, okay? So this group, this particular constellation of atoms, that's called a carboxyl group, CARBOXYL group, and this is famous. Carboxyl groups are everywhere. It's like they're actually more common than like amine groups over here, okay? And when you have nitrogen attached to two hydrogens over here, that's called a amine group, okay? Okay, now what's the big deal with that, you say? Well, what's the big deal with that? I'll tell you what the big deal with that is, okay? As soon as I erase this over here, say I'm more to talking. Okay, now this is a very special structure, see? This carboxyl group is just not just any ordinary carboxyl group, okay? It's a group that behaves as an acid. In other words, as if you recall from our discussion of acids are molecules that are able to release hydrogen ions, right? If you have a solution, there's a lot of hydrogen ions, you know what's going on. There was acid in there. Don't touch it. I'm telling you, there's acid in there. Okay, a lot of hydrogen ions, acid. But see, this hydroxyl group is special because it has the ability to behave as an acid. In other words, it can donate this hydrogen atom, and give it to the solution, who's ever hanging out, whoever wants it, in other words, and it will behave an acid. But then on the other side, let's see what the little amine group does. Well, it can act as a base. Now, one definition of base is that they accept the hydrogen ions. So here you go. So what's so special about an amino group? Well, when was the last time you saw a molecule that on one side is acid, the other side is a base? Ooh, that's pretty cool, right? So one side of the molecule acts as an acid, or can act as an acid. The other side of the molecule can act as a base. In this definition, the acid behavior is suggested by donating a hydrogen ion to whoever wants one, and the base behavior is suggested by a accepting of that hydrogen ion by whoever wants it. Okay, so that's the basic structure of amino acid, but we're not done yet though. Okay, now I have suggested to you that any amino acid, every amino acid I must say, must have nitrogen attached to carbon, and I said this is actually like this, okay? And over here we have a carboxyl group, okay? And this carboxyl group can donate the hydrogen ions. That's fair enough, right? Give me to say that? Okay. So this is the basic structure of an amino acid. In fact, as I said, this acts as an acid, right? So it can donate the hydrogen ion. Okay, well, to who? Well, here's a base who wants to take it. So this part can actually take the hydrogen atom from over here. I put it over there. And now, since the hydrogen ion is gone, this can be like a negative charge over here. Okay? So in fact, that's what happens. This can donate the hydrogen ion. This can accept the hydrogen ion. This side will be positive. This side will be negative. So watch. This is the backbone of amino acids. This side is the amino group, okay, and this side is the acid group. Okay, the acid group is carboxylic acid group. Carboxyl group, carboxylic acid group. Okay, we're not done yet though. We're not done. Because what about this carbon atom? Heck, it gets like no attention over there. Oh, no, both ends get all the attention. What about me? Saying, well, it's actually quite important. It's actually quite important. Well, on one side, it has to have four bonds. Right? Every carbon has to have 4 bonds. So one side is like hydrogen atom, and the other side over here. Oh yeah, I'm telling you, it's like so special. You would never think it was so special. Okay, now. This side is attached to it is a R. R what you say? R what to you? So R. See, R is a group. R can be many different things. R could be H, then this amino acid would be glycine. R could be this CH3, then this would be alanine. If this is something different, it could be something else. It could be methionine. So there are like 23, 24 different types of amino acids. They all are different as to what's attached over here. The R group. This is called the R group. Why is it called R group? I actually don't remember. It's called the R group, the variable group. Okay, R group. Okay. So all amino acids look like this. So if somebody were to ask you, okay, draw for me an amino acid, you should be able to do that. It's like this. On one side is the carboxyl group, see, like this. And on this side is the amino group. Now I put two over here. I didn't put this hydrogen on this side over here, okay? And this guy has to have a hydrogen over here, and over here, of course, is the variable R group. So this is a amino acid. Okay, now these are amino acids. All amino acids look like that. In other words, all amino acids will have this in common. They will all be different in what's over here. Okay, now so that's the basic structure of an amino acid. Okay, now so we're going to talk about amino acids and then nucleotides, right? So here you can see again, this is the basic structure of amino acid, right? Now this is the R group over here. Now R group is like on the top side. Okay, we're cool. We can handle it. It's no worry. This is alanine. The R group for alanine is CH3. Now if you string a bunch of amino acids together, you get a polypeptide, okay? And if you make a humongous, gigantic, like polypeptide, then that's a protein. Okay, and we shall talk about nucleic acid structure in just a second. So here again is the basic amino acid structure. Yes? Okay, we got that. So now look at this. These are different amino acids. Now if you look at this over here, they all have the same backbone, right? The ammonia group, the middle carbon there, and carboxyl group, right? They all have the same thing over there. This one got it, this one's got it, this one got it, this one got it, this one. Oh, no, this one doesn't have it. Oh, wait a minute. It's got it too, because it's also a amino acid. All of them have the same backbone. They're all different as to what's attached in the place of R, the R group. Okay, some of them can be pretty fancy. Look at tryptophan, pretty cool looking amino acid over there, right? Histidine is over here, tyrosine is over here, phenylalanine is over there. Methionine is famous. I'll tell you, she'll study why it's famous, but methionine is super special amino acid. We shall talk about that in the future. But here you can understand the basic structure of amino acids and the basic structures of therefore proteins. Now here, a whole bunch of amino acids strung together over here, see? Okay, and this in fact is a protein that you probably heard about before, and this is human insulin. Everybody's got this. This is the protein that's missing in or not working properly in patients who have diabetes, right? They get because it's involved in regulation of blood sugar levels. Okay, so this is human insulin. Now you understand how that works, right? So before we finish with the proteins here, now you can see each individual amino acids, right? They're the structure of the proteins. Now, depending on the way which amino acids are present, okay, proteins can either kind of fold themselves into sheets like this, or they can become like helical shapes, and then they can wound like this, because they don't want to be running around like a string of spaghetti in the blood, right? Not safe, because spaghetti, as you know, if you eat spaghetti, it's pretty easy to break, right? But you know, if it's like string like this, it's not going to last very long, right? But so it's going to change into like different shapes, and in fact, sometimes different polypeptides can join together to give it bigger proteins, yeah. So this is how proteins can give a higher order of structures by making either sheets or helices, and then tertiary structures by gumming up on themselves, and sometimes they can even combine with other polypeptides to give even bigger proteins. Okay, so that's the basic structure of proteins. I hope you have a good understanding of that. Now the last macromolecule that we need to study before we finish this is the nucleotides, right? As I said before, nucleotides get like the super duper attention because like, oh yeah, you're so cool. We carry the genetic code for the living things, okay? So they are very important. All right, so let's study the basic structure of a nucleotide. Nucleotides have 3 parts to it, okay? The first part is they have to have a sugar base, okay? They have a sugar base. And if you recall before, sugar are either 6 or 5 membered rings with an oxygen, okay? And then on either side over here, they have a sugar over here, and they have something attached over there, and they have something attached over here. What's attached over here, okay, right here, that's called a nitrogenous base. Okay, that's called a nitrogenous base. And what's attached over here is pretty easy. It's a bunch of phosphate groups, okay? A bunch of phosphate group which likes oxygen, like phosphorus and oxygen, like blah blah blah. So it's like that. So here on one side is the nitrogenous base, and the other side is a phosphate group, okay, attached. And of course, this is a sugar base. So this is the component of a nucleic acid. Okay, now look. So they have 3 parts. 1, they have a sugar base. Number 2, they have a nitrogenous base, the sugar and nitrogenous component. And thirdly, they have a phosphate group. Now, looking over here then, so this is a sugar base. You see, recognize that this is a 5-ring sugar, okay? And here's the nitrogenous. Why is it called a nitrogenous base? Well, because it's got a lot of nitrogen in it. That's why. Because you see, carbon is the dime a dozen organic molecules, right? Because this carbon is like the atom of organic life. So when you see a carbon, it's like, oh yeah, you see a carbon. When you see a nitrogen, whoo, hey, there's nitrogen over there. You don't see them very often, right? So nitrogenous base has a bunch of nitrogen in that molecule. And here, as you said, this is a carbohydrate and attached to the phosphate group, right? So that's the 3 components of nucleic acid, okay? This for DNA is the deoxyribose sugar that's attached over here. That's the base, and that's the phosphate group, okay? Again, now I'm going to try from simpler picture to a little bit more complicated picture. So here's the deoxyribose sugar, and here's the nitrogenous base, called the nitrogenous base, and here is a phosphate group over there. So that's the basic structure of nucleic acids. Their bases, they look like 2 basic shapes. They look like this, like 6. That's not very good base. Like 6 membered ring over here. Or they have a 5-membered ring attached to a 6-membered ring. So there are 2 types of bases. They look like either this, or they look like either this. And that's the difference between adenine, thymine, guanine, adenosine, uracil. The difference is in what the base. So it's the bases that actually determine what the amino acid, what nucleotide it is. Because the phosphate group and the sugar group is the same for all of them. Do you understand? This is same for all of them. It's the bases that differ that make up the different groups. Now look, here's here's the other nitrogenous base, which has the 5-membered ring attached to a 6-membered ring. I see a few nitrogen over here. I wonder what we should call this. We should call it a phosphorus base. Oops, no, we should call it a nitrogen base, nitrogenous base, because it's how often you see so many nitrogens hooked up together. Okay, sugar, phosphate group. So this is the basic structure of a nucleotide, the building blocks of DNA and RNA. Are the building blocks of DNA and RNA different, you say? Well, they better be, right? Okay, so what's the difference? Okay, now, so here's DNA. So their DNA has this base, thymine, which is not found in RNA. RNA has a uracil, which is not found in DNA. They all have adenine, guanine, and cytosine, either nitrogen bases. Look, the only other difference between DNA and RNA is this, okay? In DNA, there is no hydroxyl group over here. In RNA, there's a hydroxyl. That's what's called deoxy. D means without oxygen. Deoxyribose This is ribose sugar, plain old ribose sugar. This one is ribose sugar without the deoxyribonucleic acid. That's why it's called deoxyribonucleic acids. So here again, RNA has the hydroxyl group. DNA does not have the oxygen there, it just have a hydrogen. That's why it's called deoxy without the oxy. Deoxyribose sugar, nucleic acid, deoxyribose nucleic acid. Basic structure of nucleotide, base here and a phosphate group over there. And that concludes our survey of macromolecules, all 4 of them. And inshallah next time we'll go on with and finish this chapter on talking about solutions and mixtures. Until then, as-salatu was-salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Assalamu alaikum.